Hello, and thank you for watching this video on setting up a new Primavera database using P6-Loader. P6-Loader is a tool developed by Emerald Associates that allows you to extract out information from P6 as well as load data back into P6. P6-Loader also provides some really great utilities to help you clean up your database and work with the data that already exists in P6, especially that global data that is so hard to get to. Today, we're going to take a brand new database that has been set up, and we're going to create an OBS structure that is empty, as well as an EPS structure that is empty, using information from an already existing database. So I have my new one that I have right here that we have completely clean, and I'm going to use an existing database to extract out the EPS and OBS structure and use this as a template for my new database. So the way that I do that is I go into P6-Loader and sign in, and I go to my extraction window. In the extraction window, I select the two modules that I want to work with, that being the OBS and the EPS modules. So I check mark those, and I submit this for P6-Loader to bring out that information for me. Once that's complete, I can download that, and I can go into my sheet that has been opened up in Excel. A few things about extractions. For each check mark, so each module that I check marked, I'm going to have a sheet that corresponds with it. So I have an OBS and an EPS sheet in this case. I also am going to get some color-coded column headers across the top here. Now, these are going to help me understand what type of data is in this sheet. If I have a red background on a column header, this is telling me that this is mandatory information that I need to work with this particular module. So for an OBS, I have to, at the very least, have my OBS name defined. If I have a red font, this is indicating that I can use this column to remap my mandatory information. So if I wanted to change the name of any of my OBS names, I could simply put it next to that in that column, and I could change that name. Now the gray is informational only. Now the blue, these are pieces of information that you can edit or add using P6-Loader. These are optional columns. I don't have to have them in my sheet if I don't need to work with them. So let's say I don't need to work with this description. I could simply highlight this and delete it. There would be no bother with it whatsoever because it's not a mandatory piece of information. Now I'm going to just go and take a look at the EPS just so that you can see that depending on which module you're working with, you're going to have different mandatory pieces of data. So for my EPS, I can see that I have to have an EPS ID, I have to have an EPS name, as well as a corresponding OBS ID for that EPS. And the rest is just like the other page. So I'm going to take this data from my existing database, and I'm going to clean this up. So let's just hop on over to my sheet that I've already cleaned up. Now the first thing is I am in my OBS right now, and I am noticing that I have this red cleanup column. Now I can add additional columns to my sheet and name them different name than what P6-Loader would recognize. But when P6-Loader comes to that particular column, it's going to skip over it because it doesn't recognize what that column header is. Now when I was cleaning this up, I noticed that I wanted a training and Sandbox area in my new database, but my existing database did not have that. So I have added these two highlighted rows that are going to add in a training and Sandbox OBS. I'm going to click over to my EPS, and here I have cleaned up a portion of what I've pulled out with P6-Loader, but there's some additional stuff that I want to just clean up later. So what I can do is I can leave a blank line at the end of the data that I want to load, and it will ignore everything underneath that blank line. I also have added into this EPS my Sandbox and training nodes. So this is all ready to go, and I have saved this, and so now I'm ready to load it in my clean database. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go into the proper database. Just like P6, I can point this to several different databases. So I'm going to select my clean database, and it's brand new, so I'm going to use my admin login, and I'm going to use my uploading from Excel section here, and I'm going to choose the file that I want to upload. Now it's this admin EPS OBS new. I'm going to open that up, and then I'm going to tell P6-Loader to upload that file. It's going to go out. It's going to tell me it is completed successfully. So then I can go into my empty Primavera database, and I can refresh my data there. Once I've refreshed, I'm going to find that I have what I have cleaned up is all set up. It's all there, as well as my OBS, because I have my responsible manager here that is defined. So you can see how easy it would be to take an existing Primavera database and set up a brand new database. So if you have any questions or interest in exploring P6-Loader further, feel free to call us, or you can visit our website for more information. Thank you for joining me.